Welcome to Thez Nutz Garage, and today we're going to be back out here working on our 1978 F350. Alright, so like I said in the intro there, we're going to be working on this 1978 F350, but what we're going to be doing to it is working on the frame. In some of the previous videos you've seen where I have cleaned up some of the smaller parts and put POR 15 on them and painted them. Well, those parts I need to install back on my frame, and this is one of them right here. So what I did was when I removed these parts, I had to grind off these rivets. Well, being that I don't have a rivet that's that big and can install it, what I'm going to have to do is just use grade 8 bolts to put back in these holes and bolt it to the frame. So I have a couple of parts on the front of the frame, and then I have a couple of parts on the rear of the frame, and then I have a few miscellaneous parts we'll be installing. But all those parts will be bolted back on. But once we get the bolts through these parts, get them attached back to the frame, what I'm going to do is roll this frame over and get it facing right side up. Right now the bottom's facing up, and that's just because it's easier to work on for me. I don't have to lay on my back to put in these smaller parts. I can just bolt them on and be ready to go. Once we get this frame flipped over, what I'm going to do is start working on the rear springs, cleaning them up, getting them ready to be painted and put back on the truck. And then what we'll do is move to the front of the truck and do all the front suspension. Right now I've not even torn any of those suspension parts apart, but what I do have is the radius arms. I had to get a new set of those because the other ones, my old ones, were kind of wore out and wallered. So I have some used but new to me radius arms. We'll get cleaned up and painted, and then we'll do the whole front suspension. Alrighty, so now what we're going to do is install the pivot arm brace that goes here, and this is the part here. Now when I removed this brace from the truck originally, it has 4 alignment pins. One here on the back side of this, and then 2 on the other side. Now I have those parts right here. I kept them, I bagged it and tagged it so I would know where they went. Now the thing about these 2 holes here is that they were too small when I removed the rivets out of it. When I went to get new bolts, I couldn't find a bolt that fit it just exact. So what I had to do was I had to drill them out with a 1/2 inch drill bit. And it's not very much that you're going to be drilling out. But what it does is it allows these grade 8 bolts to fit in there just perfect. So what we're going to do is we're going to install this piece here, and then we'll jump on the other side and install that. Alright, so now what we're going to do is basically we're just going to take this piece and just kind of slide it down in here, a little tap-a-roo. What I'm going to do is I'm trying to get these 2 holes right here lined up with these 2 holes in the top part of this frame. And I have 2 bolts. I have 2 lock washers, and I will be painting these bolts and kind of touching up this paint right here on the frame, just from where I've kind of scratched it up a little bit. And I'm not going to tighten these up a lot because I have to put these alignment pins in right here. And that's a little loud, but these are going to have to kind of go in. You kind of got to hammer them in because they're just a really tight fit. Now once we put our radius arm or our pivot arm in here, there'll be a bolt that runs through this hole, and that'll really keep all this locked down and secure. These, I believe these alignment pins are just to keep this in alignment until this bolt is installed. Now what we're going to do is we're going to tighten up these 2 bolts. wrong tool just yet. Now, talking with the guy at the parts place where I got these bolts, they said they were good up to like 165 foot-pounds of torque. So, but what I'm going to do is just do them at 120 and call it a day. All right, so I got my torque wrench set on 120. And I'm hoping he was correct. Alrighty, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to torque the second bolt down at 120. Now that's going to be this side. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump on this side and then get it installed. Alrighty, so now I'm on the other side real quick, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you the holes and how I drill them out. Like I said, this is a 1/2-inch drill bit. And like I said, it's not going to take much because this hole is almost exact same size as this bit, just a hair smaller. So we got these two top holes. And my battery is about to go dead on my drill, so that's why it's not really performing the way it should. So I have these two holes. What I'm going to do is sit this on the floor right here, drill these two holes out, and then we'll install these bolts. All right, same procedure as before. Just going to slide this pivot arm brace in here. Just get it close. Everything's just going to be. Now what I'm doing is I'm taking the this part of the bolt and I'm running it through from the inside out here. I'm just trying to keep, since this bolt is a little bit longer than I really wanted it to be, but it's about right. I just don't want anything facing the inside of this part of the frame because this is where those arms are going to be at, and I don't want them in any way interfering with the suspension and the way it travels. Now before I can tighten these bolts up really good, what I need to do is get these what I call pivot bracket alignment pins here. I need to get these installed. I kind of tighten that one up just a hair too much. Give it a little play. Alright, so now that we've got our two alignment pins in, we can go ahead and tighten these bolts up, and then we're going to torque them at 120. Now what I need to do is kind of go in here and clean up and scuff up my bolts and just put a light coat of paint on them. I'll do that off camera, just kind of clean this up, and then what we'll do is we'll jump on the back. All right, so now what we're going to do is install this bracket back into here where it goes. Now, we're going to have to, like I said, with the other parts, since we took these rivets out, we're going to have to drill these 4 holes out in the top with a 1/2 inch drill bit, these 4 holes out with a 3/8 inch drill bit. That's also going to have us drill these 4 holes out with the 3/8, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, and 1/2 inch, these 4. So what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and drill all these out, and then I'm going to try to test fit up my bracket there and make sure it's starting to line up.
Like a bird on a tree, I'm just sitting here. I got time, it's clear to see. From up here, the world seems small. We can sit together. It's so beautiful, you and me, we're meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free.
All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to put 2 bolts in these one of these top 4. The reason why is because these parts, since they were probably under pressure when they put this frame together, now that I have taken them apart, it seems like they don't want to just line up just perfect. So what I need to do is just put 2 bolts in, then kind of work the bottom half in where it needs to be. So that way I'm just slowly working it where it's supposed to go. So now the bottom 4 holes don't want to line up just right. So what I'm going to have to do is get a piece of metal, a big screwdriver or something, put down in one of these holes and start prying it to get it to where it lines up just right. All right, so now what I'm going to do is just take this regular screwdriver. I'm just going to put it in this hole, and then I'm going to just pry back until the hole on the opposite side lines up and I can fit a bolt down in it. I'm going to go ahead and put one on this side. Should be pretty lined up. Now at this point, I kind of have 2 holes here and here. They don't seem to want to line up just perfectly. So what I'm going to do is just take my 3/8 inch drill bit, just kind of run down in there. What that'll do is allow my bolts to just slide right down in there. Now that I have all my bolts, I'm going to put I just got some locking bolts, nuts for the back. And And since this is the bottom of the frame, I'm trying to make these bolt heads be facing the ground, so if you ever get up underneath the truck, you'll just see bolts and not the nuts. So when I paint them, they'll all be nice. But this back here, the nuts won't interfere with anything, so that's why I'm doing them like this. I will torque these down. I'm going to try to do them at 120. I just hope these little bolts can hold the 120 torque. The bolts at the top, they're just like what I put on the front, so I know they'll torque up to 120. What I may do is do these right here at 75 or 80, and then see how they work, and then kind of slowly, gradually work them up from there. But I'm gonna put these 4 bolts and nuts on. I'll get these all torqued up, and I'll be back. All right, so I've got these bump stops put on the back of the frame, one on this side and one on that side. Basically what that is just a stop to keep your rear axle from bottoming out on your frame. Also have to put in this one little piece. This is, I need to go get another bolt. It is for the rear brake line that comes down, the aluminum line comes down the frame where it transitions into the hose, rubber hose. I got these 2 brackets in. And like I said, all of the smaller bolts like this, I set at 80 foot-pounds. The bigger ones I did at 120. Even the bump stop bolts I did at 80. Here's a bar that I gotta go get another bolt for and install. This right here helps cradle the fuel tank. And as you come up this side of the frame, here's another little piece I added. That also helps cradle the fuel tank. This right here is a part that I put on today. That's for the transmission mount bracket. And then I put on these pivot arm brackets here and here. Now after I put them on, this paint did kind of scuff up a little bit. If I'd have had enough time, I would have liked to have used a clear coat and a base coat paint, but this one stage paint, it does kind of want to seem to scratch a little bit, as you can see like right here. So I'm hoping that as I drive this truck, if I do get a little scratch here or there, I can take a can of that paint and just touch it up. But it would have been nice to have this whole frame powder coated, and I thought about doing that, but I did hear a lot of mixed reviews on it when it comes to frames, so I just went ahead and did it this way. In case I did get a scratch, I could just take this can of paint and just kind of touch it up here or there. All right, so one thing I do want to touch on is this truck is a F350, so it does have a massive amount of rear relief springs on this truck. And these 2 sections here and those all go together as one, and these are the helper springs. Now I have the helper springs already cleaned up, and what I'll be starting on next is getting all these springs cleaned up and put back together, so that way I can reinstall them on the truck. Now something real quick is this right here is another cross member that goes on this frame, and I will be putting that on it after I get it cleaned up and painted. But this is a radius arm for this truck, and the radius arm right here where it screws into your bracket that mounts to the frame wallered out the original bracket. This is one side, but it's pretty good. But this is the side that it watered out. It put it out around real bad. You can't just order this centerpiece for this bracket, not at least that I could find. If you can find just that centerpiece for these brackets, just put that link down below. So what I did was I went to a salvage yard and I got a new radius arm here, well, new to me, and these radius arm brackets. Well, one thing that I found out today is that the bracket that they gave me must be for a four-wheel drive or something else, because they're not the same. Now these will probably fit an F-150, maybe a four-wheel drive, but if you want to check and you need a set, just put your comments down below or something, and I can sell these to you and ship them to you for about 80 bucks. They're hard to find, and these are in good shape. But from center to center, it's 4 inches on these ones that I can sell. What I need, it's 4.5 inches center to center. So, with that being said, I found a pair on online that I'm probably going to order, and I'll have to go back through and clean them up, get them ready to install on this truck. But if you need a set of radius arm brackets, I got a set. So just comment that down below. Thanks for watching the video, and if you haven't already liked the video, go ahead and hit that like button. Then comment about any project that you're working on. I'm kind of curious to know what everybody's working on and how long it's taken them to do these long-term projects like this 1978 F350 that I'm doing. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe now, and then hit that bell, because what that'll do is let YouTube notify you when we upload a new video. Now, with that being said, I'm going to get this mess cleaned up, and y'all have a blessed day.